Monday Night Football is here, and this time it's a doubleheader with the Bears and the Vikings and the Falcons and the Raiders, and we're still going to do what we always do here. We're going to compare projections to the ownership that the field's going to have according to Stochastics data. We're also going to hop over to the solver, optimize some lineups out there, see what the best projected lineups are, and to sim some lineups out in Stochastic as well, maybe even do a hand build. And by the end of this video, 3 takeaways, both unique lineups. I don't know if you need that today, but let's get into it. Of course, I'm pretty sure you want to talk about best ball too. I do my best to not talk about it. The one thing I will say, I was laughing off the fact that Terry McLaurin, 2 touchdowns he could have caught for 50 yards. He doesn't even need them. No big deal. I do not feel that way after an entire day of football. It is stressful in the best ball streets. It's stressful in the DFS streets. And we got 2 more games to cover here, so let's do the best we can. In terms of the totals for today's slate, we got Chicago implied for less than 19 points. DeAndre Swift been banged up. No Roschon Johnson this game. Chicago last week looked like they're starting to kind of go the wrong way. Maybe not. I said last week 1-2-3 Cancun was the vibes I got from them playing against the Niners. We'll see what they do today. But team total wise, not an impressive team total for them. Minnesota 25.5 implied points. Fairly impressive number, I suppose. Against the Chicago defense that has been pretty good on the year, but definitely getting a little bit less good as we go. Atlanta 25 implied points. Vegas 19.5 implied points. So Atlanta, pretty big 5.5 point favorite on the road. Atlanta fans probably will travel this one in Vegas, you would think, and fill up most of that stadium. Shout out to the chat. We got our guy Steven here, who's in the NBA channel. Of course, I will be there at 4 p.m. today, and NBA Cup tomorrow, and then Wednesday, I guess, no games. So won't be doing anything on Wednesday, but we'll do the best we can on that Splash Play NBA coming up at 4 p.m. If you want some NBA content, check that out. Best bets, and of course, the DFS process we do here. Let's talk about this slate. We got a top projected guy who's projected by a pretty good margin above everybody else. We got Bijan Robinson, 22.4 fantasy points for him, $7,600 salary, soft matchup versus Vegas. The ways that he don't get there are probably if we were to see Tyler Algier get a little bit more work. I suppose even a pass game script, you probably see Bijan get there fairly well. Bijan in this spot, sort of hard to disagree with him as a play. Definitely a more solid, likely chalk play than we saw yesterday. Guys like Chuba Hubbard, that did not work out well at all. Kudos to those of you guys who did pull the fade off. Besides that, for Bijan, like a strong play here, $7,600 salary. We'll see how the salaries work more when we start building lineups. Sam Darnold at number 2 at 19.4 projection for him at 6,600. We saw him go off last time out. Do you think people maybe chased that a little bit? Still very high total for Minnesota going against Chicago, which again kind of surprises me. Chicago's a team that throughout the year, I don't really feel compelled to try to attack very much, giving up a negative 0.04 EPA per dropback, negative 0.04 EPA per pass, flat 0 EPA per rush. Certainly not like great world-beating defense, but good enough compared to a lot of the ones we can attack. Jaguars talked about yesterday that Rodgers stack looked appealing, ends up being a thing that wins people the Fantasy Football World Championship and some big tournaments out there as well. For Darnold, it's a high projection, honestly, but I get it with the total. Darnold contributing a lot of the touchdown work for the Vikings on the year, so I'm not crazy about Darnold here. I do think he'll be our QB that comes up the most. Pivoting around him, probably an appealing move. Justin Jefferson, 18.8 fantasy points at $8,200 salary. Finally had the big outlier game for himself last week, the ceiling-breaking game. And now we're in a situation where it is a Chicago team that did shut him down fairly well, less than 5 catches a couple weeks ago. I think I know that was a betting line. I forget what he actually put up in that game, but Jefferson himself not playing up to his standards, I'd say in general this year. The one game last week going off does kind of cover things over a little bit. Minnesota facing a Chicago defense that also plays zone a good amount. Jordan Addison's been actually better versus zone than Jefferson is, getting less targets, only a 22.6% target route run rate compared to 25.5 for Justin Jefferson. But Addison averaging 3 yards per route run compared to 2.8 for Jefferson, 0.69 EPA per route against zone compared to 0.44 for Jefferson, 19% touchdown rate compared to 0 zone TDs for Jefferson. So I would say for Jefferson, just going to Addison here, who's been getting very good workload of being kind of a lot more like a 1B receiver than a number 2, which he frankly should be. For Jefferson, I think he's an okay play here. I don't mind him. Maybe people won't play him that much because it's not a great value metric. If that's the case, I'd be willing to go there. But I think just on its face, Jefferson, to me, not as good of a play as Addison would be at a much cheaper salary. Caleb Williams at number 4, $5,700 salary for him. Again, the real big question here is, does Chicago actually have enough to compete here? Are they going to be full go in the way that you expect a team to be normally this time of year? But Chicago, I think the firings, all of that, not in that dead cat bounce when you have Thomas Brown coming in really surprised me. Like I thought they beat the Niners outright. And then we saw the Niners play on Thursday Night Football and look like a team that also was in total disarray. For Chicago, I really don't know what to expect from them, honestly. Like, you have really banged up running backs. DeAndre Swift will most likely go, but like, still, he's been banged up the entire week, not practicing really. Like, that's stuff for the Chicago Bears that I'm not really bullish on. Along with the fact the passing offense, like Keenan Allen's been pretty decent on the year, a 23% target route run rate, but you have DJ Moore, 21% target route run, Rome Odunze, 19%. Odunze had a decent game last time out, but really nothing. Nothing for this Chicago Bears team I feel like is a must-have. So Caleb projects well as a value. Will probably come up in lineups. I'd rather have Kirk Cousins at the same value metric at 5,500. Cousins at least, very soft match against Vegas. That makes a lot more sense. For Caleb, just think going against a team in Minnesota who is going to blitz at a high rate, 39% blitz rate, gets pressure 26% of the time, hurrying the QB 9% of the time. When Caleb sees pressure, which has actually not been a lot, a 33% rate, it's basically towards the better part of league average. He's had a negative 0.9 EPA per play. Caleb can throw himself into any spot. Maybe the Bears were just so bad last week they can't be that bad again, and they show some pride here. But again, I would rather have Kirk, I think, just based on how I'm viewing things. Cousins should be efficient even with lower volume. I don't think there's a guarantee he gets lower volume here. Atlanta's not really good enough to blow the Raiders out of the water, I would think. We got some GMs here. We got this one from Steve. A lot with Caleb is how you feel, how he'll do versus a blitz team. I just, again, it's really not even about Caleb himself. I think Caleb has cleaned some stuff up, at least, heading into last week. Last week was just sort of a disaster on all the fronts. It's more about just like what this team is doing here. The offensive line, frankly, felt like we're not trying quite as hard last time out either. If that's the case, like Caleb can do whatever he wants. He can handle a blitz well. You just see it over and over and over again. And granted, he's not handling it well in the year. Like, if you're getting pressure and a negative 0.9 EPA, it's really bad. But I'd say for Caleb, I think it's not like this doesn't come down to him. I think the team itself, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm able to speak to Thomas Brown a lot. Whatever happens here, like if they come back, they come out swinging, then he got them back on track after the week where they did not show for him in his first game. If you don't show up for the first game, though, I really find it hard to believe they're going to show up in the second game. So that's me talking general, knowing football, as much as I do. But I think that's one of the things that would worry me here is like that team just did not look like they want to play the rest of the year last week. And that's not a good thing to see for a team, but they've been through a lot. Wildcards Desmond Ritter says Keith Vape here. He is the highest value player right now on the slate, $4,800 salary. Ritter, only very limited action so far this year. 64% catchable ball rate, negative 0.4 EPA per rush, negative 0.2 EPA per pass. Has hit his deep shot, at least the one deep shot he took this year, one deep throw average per game. Again, I don't know how many games he's played offhand. I assume not a lot. 3.1 EPA on those plays. But again, we're talking the small stuff, small sample size stuff. The low catchable ball rate to me tends to be the one thing we could kind of maybe have some stickiness, knowing what we know of him in the past. I wouldn't expect Ritter to be better. The issue is like Vegas's play calling's a lot better. Scott Turner, the guy who took it over as OC, now being linked to Bill Belichick because of how well he's been coaching since taking over, being the OC at UNC now. So maybe you can get Ritter right here. Atlanta's defense is bad enough. You can take that shot. Ritter's a tournament play. I don't mind it. We'll see what the ownership is. But honestly, I think I'd take a shot at Ritter before I'd take a shot at Caleb Williams. Which feels like a hot take, but I don't think it is. Caleb is your number 2 value. Kirk Cousins number 3. Again, would rather have Kirk at these value metrics. Ritter, though, I think $9,000 less. Huge value. Ceiling certainly questionable, but if he runs a little bit, he could add more value. Ritter does stand out a little bit to me here, even though we know what he is. Bijan Robinson, a 3x value. Sam Darnold, also a 2.9x value. Not really any real values here. No cheap guys, no 3K guys. Bears defense is your best value technically, but though, again, they're going the wrong way, absolutely. They're playing a Minnesota team that's playing incredibly well. You're really nothing good here. There's no like underpriced Rome Odunze. Jacoby Myers still relatively underpriced for his role at 5,700. You are just not getting value on the slate. This might not be a fun one. I gotta say, if Ritter hits, that'll make it fun because he's a value. Everything else is really not really value. All right. Looking at ownership next. It's loading on this tab. All right, we got your chalk play. Bijan Robinson at 82%. Oh, my Lord. That's so much Bijan. He's the best play on the slate, I would think, just based on the matchup, the situation, all of that. Workload for Bijan. So moved it all. 3.3 red zone intended touches a game. 1.5 inside the 10-yard line. For comparison, Tyler Algier 2 and 1.1. Bijan 21 intended touches a game. Man. How does he not make it? I mean, injury obviously would be one way Bijan doesn't make it. Algier taking rushing touchdowns, and you get more intermediate throws to Kyle Pitts. But that's hard to bank on given how bad Pitts has been. Pitts, 8.2 yards per target. Ray McLeod, 6.4. Those are your guys who could probably get short targets if you weren't throwing it to Bijan. It's hard to imagine Bijan failing, but at 81% ownership, 82% if we're rounding up, you cannot play him. You can fail. There's a difference between can fail and the projection math and how that all works out. Yeah, we'll see what the sim gives us, but it's hard to imagine really fading Bijan here. The other RBs are not good enough to get away from him. He's still probably decently likely to make a lineup. You got to think about who he's competing against. There aren't really good RBs on the slate, so even 15 fantasy points, he could still make a winning lineup. And obviously it's a different thing for small field tournaments, but like somebody won the SPY yesterday with a 0 from Amari Cooper and also the chalk bad day from Chuba Hubbard, I believe. You can win with anything in a slate. It's all relative to what the other options on the slate are and if they outscore that player. Bijan cannot fail. There we go. There's the opposite side of it. Bijan can fail relative to what Bijan can do compared to the slate. Like, who's going to beat him out at RB? I mean, look, we could sort by RB here. DeAndre Swift beating out Bijan Robinson. That can happen if Chicago wins, but Chicago's not very likely to win. So we're talking maybe 2 out of 10 times. Aaron Jones, I think we're looking a little bit better here, but honestly, his red zone work hasn't been that great. 3.8 intended red zone touches per game, a little bit better than I thought. 2.1 inside the 10-yard line. That's okay. Aaron Jones can beat him, but I think more likely he would be flat. His ceiling is better than Bijan's floor, but like his median outcome games, I think are not as close to Bijan's median outcome games. DeAndre Swift, we talked about it, they got to win. McCormick, if you're getting Madison back in, the workload's probably not going to be as stable. He's hard to get there. Algier obviously can get touchdowns away from Bijan, can maybe put up a similar score at much cheaper, but he's not going to get the PPR points, so he's hard to get there. Like, that's the big issue here. So, yeah, Bijan can quote-unquote fail relative to Bijan, but on the slate, you just got nothing. You got nothing to play. We're going to play CJ Ham. You play Ty Chandler, is the fucking biggest waste of a pick in best ball that all the fucking dipshit people in the creator community talk me into. I'm really mad at Ty Chandler now that fucking we're through the best ball season. But yeah, point being, there's really not any obvious pivots. People are going to play Bijan and Aaron Jones. That's fine. Yeah, let's see. I don't even think Aaron Jones is a lock play either, but whatever. We got 50% for Aaron Jones, 49% for Justin Jefferson, 48% for Drake London, 47% for Brock Bowers. Look, the good players in the slate are well covered. I think the main thing we're going to see here when we run the Sims and the optimizer is going to be about building a unique stack. Can you get to Bowers, Ritter with Jacoby Myers? I think it's going to be one question. Does that occur naturally? That's sort of where we're at with it. The good plays are here. Bowers' legacy game? Why? Because he's playing what, your favorite team? Is that why would it be possibly a legacy game? You think he's gonna put up such a monster? Maybe. But look, he was down last week. One of the things that Uticow said, I think on the Endgame Syndicate Discord that somebody had reposted for me recently, was talking about the idea of like one of his knowing ball takes, which I again, not to disrespect one of the best DFS players in the world. I don't think it's really knowing ball to say this. But he's like, oh, well, like he'll target teams where like they had a bad game last time out. They kind of need to get back on track this week, and they're a team that you expect to have the talent to do it. For Brock Bowers, he was so bad last week relative to his, his general outputs that maybe he'd hope to be better. But like, he's just the best play in the slate for the same reason Bijan is at running back. It's like, what else are you going to go to here? Like tight end, we can look at real fast. You go to Hawkinson, try to capture the ceiling, but frankly, he's not hitting that ceiling very often. Kyle Pitts, same thing. I mean, but a worse version of it. Kyle Pitts is just a complete non-factor. The coaches are also kind of throwing him under the bus, which you don't really see too often. There was some quote that came out on social media this week from other NFL GMs about how Kyle Pitts like doesn't even look like the player that was drafted. They feel bad for him, was the quote that came out. That's the guy you're going to play instead of Brock Bowers. Cole Kmet, 3,800. Like, he could spike in those random Caleb games. We don't expect a good Bears game anyway. So how are you going to play him over Brock Bowers? Like, Bowers and Bijan are kind of the exact same play where it's like, these other guys just aren't in their tier, but you're paying the exact price tag for it, both in terms of price itself and ownership. Like, you're paying on both ends for these guys. This slate, man, I looked at it a little bit this morning, and I didn't dig this deep on everything, obviously, because I like to keep some of my, my reactions coming up on stream here. And I hate the slate. I gotta say, doesn't look like the most fun. But let's see what we find with the solver next. Let's log in on this tab. Let's figure out what the projection is going to drive people to, and maybe we'll find an edge through that. That's always the hope, right? So let's go to the solver here. Load up ETR's data. You need 30 from Bowers in half PPR. That might be tough. Full PPR, you got a shot, maybe. All right, we got Monday 2 gamers. No sim available on ETR yet. I'm sure it will be up later. No variance. Let's build 25 lineups first and see what we get. The point of this exercise is to find out what the projections are going to drive people to the most, and it's Desmond Ridder. All right. Do they have ownership for this? Real fast, the top owned plays according to ETR data. We'll see if we get a difference. Get a difference from what Stochastic was showing, as we have gotten lately on some slates. 66.4% ownership for Bijan here. It's a little bit less than the 81% Stochastic had. Aaron Jones at number 2 at 53. They also had Aaron Jones a little bit lighter, but still pretty close. 50% on Stochastic compared to 53 on ETR. Brock Bowers at 48 on ETR, 47 on Stochastic, close enough. They have Jefferson lower. They have Jefferson way lower. Jefferson at 40% on ETR compared to 49% on Stochastic. DJ Moore, they have getting in more. Jacoby Myers, Drake London, pretty close. So not too dissimilar besides the Jefferson thing, I guess. Your cash game lineup, if you're going to play one, 11-18 here on the East Coast on Monday. We got Desmond Ridder, Aaron Jones, Bijan Robinson, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Drake London, TJ Hawkinson, Sincere McCormick, who, again, you get Madison back in. I don't know McCormick really won the role enough that Madison gets squeezed. Let me see if they actually have Madison in the projection set. They do have Madison in the projection set, but so ETR has Madison getting iced by McCormick, which I don't know is a guarantee. If anything, I think it's still very possible that Madison takes the goal line work away, because he was taking that away from Zamir White throughout the year, and that doesn't even make sense. Anyway, you're getting McCormick in your cash game lineup with Vikings D. So again, that's Ridder, Jones, Robinson, Bijan, that is, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Drake London, TJ Hawkinson, Sincere McCormick, and Vikings D. In your top 25 lineups, just based on the projections, no variance put on top of it, you're getting DJ Moore, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson in 100% of lineups. So you're not getting Brock Bowers in 100%. ETR is pushing you more towards Hawkinson. Certainly one thing to note, but getting DJ Moore is okay. I still think Keenan Allen's generally the better matchup play. And we were getting a zone-heavy Minnesota team. DJ Moore targeted 17% of the time he's running a route versus zone compared to 22% for Keenan Allen. Touchdown rates are flat, 3.8% for Moore, 3.8% for Allen. That's weird. 3.8% for Odunze as well. So they've all caught touchdowns versus zone defenses. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think DJ Moore is like necessarily the best Bears play. He's fine. I don't think he's the best Bears play. Pierce said McCormick was the RB1, I believe. Pierce's coach speak is a little hit and miss. I don't know. Coach speak next I haven't been paying the most close attention to, because they kind of lost some utility along the way this year. Now it's just like victory laps, which I don't suspect him. He can victory lap whatever he wants. But yeah, I don't know if I'm fully buying that, but sure. Check out the chats real fast. You need Bowers and Vikings D. Okay. Did Mayer score more fantasy points than Bowers last week? I believe he did, but again, that's 1 week. I don't know. That would be a big flip. That was also, wasn't that Mayer's, was that first game back or second game back for his personal issues? Like I don't know. I wouldn't think it's the most stable thing in the world, given that Brock Bowers has been the best targeter on the team by a pretty wide margin. But certainly Mayer, if you wanted to pivot off of Bowers, you could. Mayer, though, we're not getting him very much. Bowers, we're not getting Bowers at all in the top 25 lineups for ETR data. So ETR people are going to be getting less Bowers naturally than you would think. 15.5 projection for them. Stochastic has Bowers at 16.5. Huh. They have Hawkinson projected higher? No, Hawkinson's pretty flat. So yeah, ETR, I guess just the price tag for Bowers is a little bit tough to get to at tight end. So Bowers maybe more of a tournament play as a result. In terms of game stacks, nothing that much here you're seeing overall. Player stacks, about a third of lineups are going to have Bijan and Drake London in the top 25. Third of lineups have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen in the top 25. Third of the lineups have Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson. The other overarching trends here. Looks like you're getting at least 2 Falcons in every lineup. Getting 2 Falcons in at least every lineup, 3 in most. Getting 2 Vikings at least in every lineup. This is one of those slates where if you were to use a solver, it'd be hard to do on Stochastic Sims tool. If you were to use a solver and take one team out and just run the other 3 teams, run the best lineup for those 3 teams, and sim those and just take the best lineups with that, and do that for every team. Obviously, it might be tough for some to do that, like Minnesota. You're going to feel uncomfortable about it. At least do max 1 player from each team and do it that way. I think that's a good way to get unique on the slate. That is generally for the shorter slates anyway. I think that hit on Thanksgiving. It's definitely hit on these short slates in the past, though, where like there's a chalk team that's coming up a lot. I think that'd be the Falcons here. It's hard to fade the Falcons against Vegas, but as an example, like you just take the Falcons out of the projection set, build all your lineups then with the other 3 teams, or at least maybe concentrate 1 Falcon, have all the production in the game. Like a Bijan, maybe fade the pass catchers. I think it's a pretty unique way to build lineups here as long as you get the project decently enough. But just a thought here as we're going through stuff. Let's go to Stochastic next. Let's build some lineups here for this slate. Let me refresh. Hopefully it'll keep me logged in. All right. 33% to first, I believe. Let's build this set of lineups first. So we got 10,000 lineups. We're going to compete 10,000 times here with Stochastic's data, and we'll see what we figure out here. Slate's really hard to wrap my head around. I got to be honest. As you guys watch these videos, as many of you have all year, really not the case. I feel like there's been maybe less than 5 a given year where I'm like, I don't really know what you're supposed to do here. For this one, like all the chalk assumptions are kind of based in the projections for the most part. And the best plays are priced at a level where it's like, yeah, you can just lock button Bijan and Bowers, I guess, and see what you get around that. And I wouldn't hate that concept. But ETR being so low on Bowers, it's almost like a little bit spooky that he just doesn't come up naturally at all. A lot of times the 2-gamer, I'd rather game stack, but not feeling that here. I mean, like if you're getting game stack, like Atlanta versus Vegas seems like the most appealing one. And you take off 1 piece from the Vikings, maybe 2. I think the most obvious team, if you're going to fade a team entirely for me, given the fact we're getting DJ Moore everywhere, getting Keenan Allen a good amount, I think just not playing Bears would be the obvious thing to me, to just fade that entirely. But with Ritter being in and the RB situation, I think a little bit murkier than it might seem. You could also fade the Raiders, like because Bowers is expensive. Jacoby Myers could get beaten out by Jordan Addison at a similar price tag. So I think there's a merit just going through and just slicing off 1 team and running projection sets off of that. But we'll see. Let's sim out these lineups. We'll see what we get here. And guys, if you appreciate this content, again, I know I'm like it's like a weird slate because I'm not, it's not me being unenthusiastic about it. I'm just like, I'm looking for an edge here. I'm not seeing one right now, but that might just be the case. But if you appreciate the value you're getting out of this video, of course, we do this for every slate, every primary slate at least. Subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment on that march now to 5K subs on here. And I march to 500 on the @SplashPlay NBA channel to get that thing monetized after about a month and change of doing shows on there. So show some love, subscribe to both of them @SplashPlayPod here. Subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment, and @SplashPlayNBA if you want some NBA content, go check that out. It's Stochastic, 15% off. Like the description, of course, you're going to see their data in a moment here. Solver, like the description as well. Underdog, $1,000 in bonus cash. If you want to go on there, if you're only here for DFS content, you don't usually play on Underdog, good time to do it. Get that $1,000 in bonus cash. Best deposit match you're going to find from a non-sportsbook out there. And honestly, sportsbooks are also fucking you at this point too. Sportsbook CEOs, talking about people getting Luigi'd. Maybe. Kirk, I know it's a random tangent, but it popped in my head, and I think it's probably a fair one. Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Drake London, also Luigi, I'd like as a verb. That's fun. Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney, Brock Bowers, Ray McLeod, Bears. So a Kirk Cousins quadruple stack with 2 bringbacks. So you're seeing the game stacking thing happen here. Game stacking, honestly, going to work better in small fields always, but for the big tournaments, yeah, 6-man stack of 1 game, not crazy. Number 2, again, another game stack of Atlanta and the Raiders. Keep saying Atlanta and the Vikings. Obviously, that was a matchup we just saw. Ritter and Bijan Robinson, Aaron Jones, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers, Ray McLeod, TJ Hawkinson, Brock Bowers, and Vikings. So double tight end in this one. You're not taking Drake London. You're going McLeod instead. It's okay. Yassim feels fine. Doesn't feel like anything special or unique would be what I would say. But I guess the double stack of Raiders and maybe 2 tight ends gets you unique. Number 3, Kirk Cousins in terms of ROI. Number 3rd overall ROI lineup. Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, Aaron Jones, Drake London, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, and Bears. Number 4 is Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Drake London, Jacoby Myers, Keenan Allen, Brock Bowers, Sincere McCormick, and Bears. So McCormick coming up a little bit here, a little bit less than he was for ETR, at the very least so far. Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, DeAndre Swift again. Swift is coming up a lot more than I would have thought. Drake London, Jacoby Myers, Keenan Allen, Brock Bowers, Ray McLeod, and Bears. Swift, I guess. He's in 3 of the top 5 ROI lineups. You're getting a direct pivot on Aaron Jones. Again, RB in the same game being a pivot. We did see that come to fruition yesterday in that Carolina-Dallas game where Rico Dowdle, for as okay of a game that was, didn't score a touchdown, but had a ton of rushing yards. And I think no catches. Weird game for Rico Dowdle. He was direct leverage against Chuba Hubbard. Like, they just never got the running offense going to the other side. A lot of 3 and outs there. A lot of Bryce Young fucking up and fumbling. So if you get Aaron Jones not getting there, especially in a game where Chicago somehow wins it, Swift to be more appealing. But again, the Bears, I just have a lot of concerns about overall. Inciting violence on DraftKings. See, yeah, there you go. Look, I mean, I think it'd be fair. You're limited. You're mad about it. Thanks for the hard work. I appreciate that. I'm trying my best here. Can't always have obvious takes, especially when the slates are not, I think, priced to have takes that are that good, but I appreciate it. I'll still show up and do the work, even the slate sucks. That's the promise here. Desmond Ridder, and that's going to be the case tomorrow for the NBA. Desmond Ridder, 1.8% ROI. Desmond Ridder, 4,800, your only positive ROI player. Look, Ridder stacks are going to appeal. The issue is like Ridder getting stacked with Bowers will happen a lot. Ridder with Jacoby Myers and Bowers will happen a little bit less, but it's not going to really be sneaky. You still have to do something unique around that, like fading a Bijan, like I honestly don't even know what the weird thing would be at this point with how the slate's going. Looking rather. Maybe a Desmond Ridder stack with Trey Tucker would get you more unique. But like Trey Tucker is a low projection at 6.9 fantasy points. It doesn't look great, but Ridder, I think, does appeal to me in terms of the game theory, the price tag, and all of that. QB plus 1 stacks, none of them have a positive ROI, but the best one is Desmond Ridder. QB plus 2 stacks, only Desmond Ridder has a positive ROI. All the others are negative. They're just going to be used a lot more, would be my guess. QB plus 2 stacks, only Desmond Ridder has a positive ROI again. All the others are negative. Really just speaks to how the Sims don't believe that Desmond Ridder will be owned that much. I think would be the main thing here. But yeah, it's just like there's not enough options to put with Ridder. And people will play him naked too, I'm sure. So I'm not really sure what your lever is. It really feels like it's Trey Tucker or nothing. You say you play, maybe you play Myers, you play Bowers, play Trey Tucker on top of that, or fade one, put Trey Tucker on top. But I'm not sold on that. 85% Bijan compared to the field's 81. So even though he's going to be super chalky, the Sims think you should play more. Keep that in mind. Brock Bowers, 71% compared to the field's 45. Getting a lot of him here. So really high leverage play for both Bijan and Brock Bowers, which was to be expected. Jacoby Myers, another guy here, just jamming him in. Almost 2x the amount of Jacoby Myers, despite being 40% owned. Drake London, maybe just fading the Raiders entirely. Just making the bet that Desmond Ridder kills that team, I think would be it. But again, this just goes hand in hand with what I was saying, though. Like, just running 500 ETR sims with the Raiders taken out, 500 ETR sims with the Bears taken out, 500 with the Vikings taken out. Just do that, I think, is honestly is probably my approach. I'm going to have to make lineups before. Slate starts at 8 o'clock tonight, so prepare accordingly, a little bit earlier than usual for Monday Night Football slate. With Luca's bedtime, I'm probably going to have to build him in like the 4 o'clock hour or something today. I have to build early. Drake London, 54 compared to 48. Aaron Jones, 53 compared to 51. DeAndre Swift, 49 compared to 37. Your highest leverage plays right now, Jacoby Myers, 69% exposure compared to 39. We already talked about that. Bowers, 71 compared to 45. Ridder, 40 compared to 18. So more than double the field on Desmond Ridder is what the Sims are giving you here from Stochastic. Bears D coming in 45% compared to 26. Sam Darnold certainly can turn it over, even though his interception rate under league average 2.2% on the year. I feel like league average might have gotten lower this year too. It's been 3% for like forever. Feels like it's like got to be like 2.8 or 2.7 this year. DeAndre Swift, 49 compared to 37. And Raiders D, you're getting 27% compared to 17. Yeah. All right. Let's look at all the QBs. We might as well do that here. Try to give you a read on what the best lineups are for each QB. Let's go Desmond Ridder here. He was such the belle of the ball in the Sims. What are your best Desmond Ridder lineups? Read this one already, but Ridder, Bijan, Aaron Jones, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers, Ray McLeod, Hawkinson, Brock Bowers, and Vikings. Number 2, Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Drake London, Jacoby Myers, Keenan Allen, Brock Bowers, Sincere McCormick, and Bears. And number 3, Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Jordan Addison, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Darnell Mooney, and the Bears D. All right. So Ridder, at least a double stack, at least 2 bringbacks. Definitely a lot of game stacking of Atlanta, Vegas, it seems. QB contains Cousins in the same game. Your top Kirk Cousins lineups. Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Drake London. I think we read this one already. Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney, Brock Bowers, Ray McLeod, and the Bears. Number 2, Kirk, Bijan, Aaron Jones, Drake London, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers, Kyle Pitts. I will say Kyle Pitts does not seem to be coming up a lot. Based on what we know of how this team is going and how Kyle Pitts is going, I don't think he's a play you want to flock to, but if people aren't going to play it, unfortunately, bad plays become good plays on slates where just everybody's going to be playing the good plays too much. Kyle Pitts, I think, is one of those plays here that nobody's going to want to play. He's cheap enough, and if he does have a ceiling here somehow, Raiders, anything that would give me a boost to tight ends? Raiders do allow a high EPA to opposing tight ends, 0.4 expected points added per target, only a 12% rate, which is league average to tight end. Out of the slot, very high 0.35 EPA per target, but Kyle Pitts, his slot targets are down a good amount there. Main benefit of that would be for Drake London. Yeah. I don't know what the case is for Kyle Pitts besides the fact people won't play him. So that's, look, that is what it is. Number 3 ROI line for Kirk Cousins. Cousins, Bijan, DeAndre Swift, Drake London, Jacoby Myers again, Keenan Allen, Brock Bowers, Ray McLeod, and Bears D. Let's look at the other QBs. Darnold. You got Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Jordan Addison, Jacoby Myers, Keenan Allen, TJ Hawkinson, Brock Bowers, Raiders. Number 2 is Sam Darnold, Bijan Robinson, Sincere McCormick, Justin Jefferson, Ray McLeod, Trey Tucker, TJ Hawkinson, Brock Bowers, and Raiders. Number 3 is Sam Darnold, Bijan Robinson, Aaron Jones, Jefferson, Jacoby Myers, Keenan Allen, TJ Hawkinson, Josh Oliver, and Raiders. All right, let's play a game, guys. What stands out here for these? We got no Jordan Addison. That's it. Addison coming up in one lineup, not in the other 2. I think that speaks a little bit to the fact your highest upside is with Addison, but you're going to get a more stable median outcome with Jefferson and no Addison. Ray McLeod coming in a little bit more probably changes that as well. Yeah, for Addison, I think he's a strong play in the slate. To me, he's looked like a different player the last month or so, just getting more targets, being more used, being more productive when he's getting targeted. So Darnold with Addison, I would say if I'm going to play Darnold, I'd prioritize Addison a little bit more just because he's not coming up as much naturally, but I think still a strong play. QB contains Caleb, last but not least amongst our QB milieu. We got Caleb, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney, Hawkinson, Bijan, and Raiders. All right, so a double stack with 2 bringbacks. This one, same thing. Caleb with Bijan, Aaron Jones, Drake London, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Josh Oliver, Brock Bowers, and Falcons D. Number 3 is Caleb, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison makes this lineup. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, and Raiders D. So, look, Caleb teams, I get the logic here. Nice price tag. If he does bounce back, and honestly, he should, for himself, play a little bit better than he did last time versus the Niners. I just really have questions about the Bears and where they're going at this time of the year. I hit a Caleb stack tonight. There we go. Right about Thielen, gave a 50-plus points that I didn't trust him. Oh, well, tough seeing. You made your best choices. Do best ball tomorrow here. And I've never done it on Mondays, and I won't do it today. But talk about it up top if you really care that much. Addison earning targets at a nice rate. I'd use them for sure. I agree with that. All right, let's handle the lineup here, and let's get out of here. Wish it were a little bit more of a juicy slate, but we'll see what we find in the hand build. Maybe that'll reveal something really fun that I haven't thought of yet. Thinking about fading Bears in this one up top. Though honestly, I do think that people are going to be willing to fade the Bears more this week because of how bad they were last week. So that'd be my one concern point. Let's zoom out a little bit more here. I mean, RB, I think I'm in agreement that Bijan is just a play you kind of have to have. Hard to imagine him not getting one touchdown. Maybe the move was, can we hit Bijan and Algier together? You need Aaron Jones to fail. Or you can play him in the flex. Let's try that. Let's try it. Let's see how this looks. Can't imagine this is going to sim well. But for like a median outcome, if that's Bijan's median projection, you could siphon one touchdown away to Algier, and that shouldn't be crazy. Let's just see how this looks. Because we do have, Atlanta implied for 25 points. Best red zone work on the team is Bijan and Algier. I'm okay with that. Probably don't want to go Kirk with it. Do we game stack this? I think Ritter just being awful, because then that's how both RBs would hit more so, is if Ritter is just dirt terrible. So let's play the Falcons. Let's see if we can do this while fading the Raiders entirely. So I think we would have to go either Caleb or Darnold at this point. Caleb, Darnold. Look, let's buy into the Bears here. Again, I really have a lot of questions about the Bears, but I think for the logic of it, I think they probably end up a little bit less played, though. The projections are really pushing you on a lot of Bears. Keenan Allen, I'm still good with him. Really, one guy, though, he did completely phone it in last year for the Chargers when the season was out of hand. Basically asked out of the games. He also knew he was going to be leaving the team, so that probably was a part of it. For Keenan Allen, though, assuming that he's a full go, assuming that the Bears are what they are, I'm willing to go there because I think people will chase the Odunze game a little bit more, and that was kind of a fluky 2-touchdown game for him. He wasn't good in that game. He just scored. So that's the way I'm going to go for that. Got to probably have at least one more Atlanta player in. God, this is tough. Just maybe, let's go DJ Moore. Look, I talked about Addison. Let's get him in. So we have a read on the salary, $5,900. We now have $5,900 left per spot. Then we got to pay it for something at receiver. Somebody from Atlanta going to get there? It'll probably be Mooney and less targets. Could do Jefferson as well. Because a lot of teams, if they're going to play Addison and Jefferson, they're probably going to play Darnold. Let's try that. Let's go Jefferson and eat up some salary. Because otherwise, we pretty much have to play Brock Bowers. I'm trying not to do that. Cole Kmet game, maybe? Can we do that? Maybe we can. Flex. We now have 5,800 left. We could make it a Caleb triple. So we triple up the Bears with 2 bringbacks from Minnesota. Say that game becomes a shootout. We're fading Atlanta Vegas as a game stack because that's the one people are going to get a lot more naturally. I can live with this. Let's see how it sims. The lineup I just built here: Caleb Williams, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Keenan Allen, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, and Falcons D. So got away from theoretically chalk constructions and negative 31%. Maybe take out Kmet. We might need a Falcons receiver in. Let's put in, I think it'd be more likely to Mooney to hit because Mooney can get there in less plays than the London could score a touchdown. Sorry, guys. I'm meandering here. I'm just really trying to figure out some way to make something useful for the slate. Let's put Drake London here. What does that leave us at tight end? That leaves us Michael Mayer, who we don't really want to play. Josh Oliver. Yeah, don't think we want to do this one. Sims didn't seem to mind Josh Oliver in some lineups, though. Put Mooney in. What do we get with that? Mooney and then tight end 4,100. And we're at Kyle Pitts. That's too many Falcons, I think. Let's see how it sims, though. So we just changed this to Caleb, Bijan, Algier, Keenan Allen, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, and Falcons D. So basically saying that's like a a Falcons 30-0 win kind of thing. That got even worse. Hey, look, I think it's one of those days I'm not going to build a good sim ROI lineup. That's how I feel about it. Going Pitts in the flop flag. People be very comfortable with Algier and Pitts in the same lineup. Why? Why Algier and Pitts? What do they have nothing to do with each other? Is Hawkinson not getting enough love? I know one game, but he did rip up the Bears a few weeks ago. He ripped up the Bears because Jefferson was awful in that game. Yeah, I mean, I think he's appropriately owned. It seemed like he was coming up a ton in the Sims. He's projected for 36% ownership. I don't know how much more you'd want. If Bowers is going to be 47, Hawkinson at 36 feels about right. What about Ray? He's okay. I don't think he would be a good play in a game where you're expecting the Falcons to rout. Because basically, if the Falcons rout the Raiders, they probably don't need to have a bunch of checkdowns to Ray McLeod. You need checkdowns, shorter throws for Ray McLeod when the game's competitive and you just have to move the ball and get it past the sticks. So I would think that Ray would be less appealing in the spot. He projects well enough. He's fine. But in terms of just trying to make this build work, I don't think Ray made sense for it. But maybe it does. You can play with the configuration on your own if you want to get different. But there we go, guys. That's it for me on this one. 3 ways to get unique. I think the first way to get unique would be the thing I mentioned here. Just fading one team out of it is really a good way to build lineups a lot for these 2-3 game slates. We keep seeing it hit over and over again. It's hard to make a real assessment on that. My instinct would be to fade the Bears, but I do think the Bears being so awful last week, people are going to naturally do that more. So I think fading the Raiders on the slate would be one way to get unique. But really, I would say if you're doing like a 20 max tonight, which is what I'll be doing, I'm probably going to dedicate two the best sim lineups to having no Bears, 2 with having no Vikings, 2 with having no Raiders, 2 with having no Falcons. Could do more than that if you wanted, but I think that's an approach where it's just worth getting a different look here. Because people are naturally going to get like one player from each team at least. You can do max 1 as well, but I think if you just got a team that completely blanked out, nobody gets there. So your pathway to winning the most money on a slate like this, where there's going to not be a lot of ways to build uniquely. Number 2 way to get unique on this slate, on paper, it's Desmond Ridder, but I really don't think the Sims are going to make people not play Desmond Ridder. So playing him, I think, would, in my mind, looked okay as a concept. Looked on her own. Sims say that it'll be on her own. When he's the only player with the positive ROI, he's going to kind of naturally build more ownership than he would. But on paper, Desmond Ridder, I think, as a stack, would just be an interesting thing to do. Total for Vegas under 20 points, but 19.5 is not that bad for where they've been. So I guess that's it. Number 3 way to get unique. You're not getting enough Jordan Addison, I guess. The field will still be at 35%. That's that. I guess Algier being under 10% owned. Algier does seem to scoop touchdowns away a lot in certain game scripts, especially ones where they don't have to hide what they're doing. Like, oh, we don't want it to be clear if it's a pass or a run, because when they have Algier out there, it's very rarely a pass. So I think Algier at 4,400, even if you're not fading Bijan, playing him at the flex, I think could work. He's really the only cheap guy that stands out to me as being pretty good, besides the tight ends, who we have a lot of issues with. So that's 3 ways to get unique, guys. There'll be better content on the NBA channel at 4 p.m. today. Of course, you got value to this. Hopefully you did. I'm still showing you the tools and what you get out of it. So please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, do all of that. I'll keep doing the work. Doesn't matter if the slates look fun to me or not. I show up and do things here Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Sundays at 9 a.m. The final takes video, and that goes on throughout the playoffs as well. And whenever there are slates that we have to cover it for. Of course, Underdog, $1,000 in bonus cash with the promo code SPLASH. Check that out. It does support the show directly. And if you haven't signed up on there, do it now, because I could use the support here, because I got to renegotiate with them coming up in a couple months. Hopefully sooner, honestly. Stochastic, 15% off. Link in the description for them for Stochastic. Of course, all the data I showed you on screen, the Sims tools, you get that for yourself at 15% off in perpetuity. It's the best deal they have going right now for anything, only deal they have going. And it's really one that helps me out directly, get affiliate fees for it, and you get a great product. So check it out for yourself, Stochastic. 15% off the promo code SPLASH or the link in the description. Unabated as well, $30 off. Get better betting data for yourself. Custom NBA projections for the NBA, market-based projections for everything else. On college basketball, college football, for as much as that's left, market-based projections is going to do well for you. For NBA, the custom projections will make a lot of money for you based on how many pick'em people keep fucking super chatting because they're killing it with the pick'ems I show in the NBA. So check that out here for Unabated, $30 off the promo code SPLASH. Thank you to all the paying members here. Of course, you too could support the show. Join below for $4.99. It does go a long way. Shout out to our guy Frank, who signed up, left me a really nice chat over the weekend as well. Appreciate that. I haven't added into the names yet here, but I will soon. Gamble responsibly. Shh. Even though it is always money time here. Also, shh. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And hey, let's have some fun out there for this slate, right? I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye-bye.